Hey, Jim Toscano here, and welcome to the Monday night live stream, Filling in the Grooves. I have a special guest tonight that I'm going to mention in just a moment. But before I do that, I just want to thank Sabian Cymbals, ProLogic's practice pads, which actually my guest is an endorser of both of those companies. Offset pedals, Black Magic Designs, of course, for my switcher and my monitors. And there's a little QR code for my link tree right there in the corner. And there's another little QR code for my mailing list. So sign up for my mailing list so you can find out about all the interviews that are coming up. And I'm going to put on my goggles because I'm going to read a little bit of my intro. But I think my guest tonight doesn't need much of an introduction because I think his reputation speaks for itself. But tonight I have Rich Redmond, who is currently playing with Jason Aldean. And I think they're about to get back on the road and start doing a bunch of stuff, which is amazing, being that we've been through this year of hell with the pandemic. But Rich Redmond's played with so many artists: Jason Aldean, Ludacris, Kelly Clarkson, Bryan Adams, Bob Seger, Joe Perry, got to ask you about that, Garth Brooks, Chris Stapleton, Jewel, Miranda Lambert, Luke Bryan, a whole bunch of guys. And Rich, also, the other cool thing is he was Country Drummer of the Year a bunch of years for Modern Drummer Magazine, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, maybe last year, I don't even know. And also, he's a great clinician. I've seen him in clinic a bunch of times. I met Rich back in PASIC in, I think, 2009, maybe. I don't know. We're going to talk about that. And of course, Rich's book, Crash. I want to talk to him about this course for success, which is an amazing book, by the way. And it is an audiobook, also on Audible. Without any further ado, let's bring in Rich Redmond. Let's do it. Wait, I need my goggles so I can see what I'm doing. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
What's up, Jim? How are you, man?
I'm great, man. I'm so happy that you're hanging with me tonight. This is really a pleasure. And you and I spoke not that long ago about some technology stuff. I think you reached out to me about doing a small rig for like Zoom calls and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I thank you for that, and I'm glad we were able to connect again for that. That's the crazy thing about drummers, right? Like, we're such a tight community, and like I met you years and years ago, and you know, we stay in touch through these crazy channels, right? Can you speak to that? Like, how was that for the last year, having to deal with that, the technology and doing things remotely?
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for, I mean, you have become the wizard of all wizards, and you're setting up all these celebrity drummers rooms, and I'm jealous of your lighting. I spent most of the pandemic in Los Angeles, like 14 months, and my awesome pal and drum tech, Johnny Hull, who I've been working with for a decade, who just turned 30 years of age. Crazy how much we've been able to do together. He got, all my Zoom Q2N cameras. I got the foot, I got over the shoulder, I got a head on, I got a bird's eye, and we're all mic'd up and everything. We're not quite there. We're going to rip this place apart, rewire it, re-signal path everything, get everything down to even when he's not around, I can work the gear, but you were so knowledgeable and you were so helpful and got the ball rolling. So thank you there. And so for the drummers out there that want to do that, they want to, you want to have this safe haven, where you can be creative and broadcast your talent to the world. Jim's the man. So, but yeah, I kept busy during this whole thing. I mean, obviously it was a blessing and a curse in the sense that, it was a very hard time for a lot of people. A lot of us in our lifetimes have never seen anything. We hopefully will never see anything like this again. And I just kept busy. I made sure I prioritized my health. I wanted to stay sharp on my instrument and just physically. So when the call came, it was like, hey, we're back. We're going on tour. I didn't want to be the slow guy, having to oh God, I just wanted to stay sharp. So, I ran 6 miles a day. I ran like 1,000 miles in COVID, which was really, really good. I had a full refrigerator for like the first time in like 25 years. I got 8 hours of sleep every night. I cooked 3 meals a day. I mean, it was like I rediscovered my domesticity, my domesticity. And it was really kind of a fun thing. And I designed a bunch of courses for the Musicians Institute, their online program. I taught those classes online, reading 3 and reading 4. So I'm a big believer. One of my philosophies in teaching, one of the most important things you could do to propel your career forward is to have strong reading chops. So it's good to work with the kids and say, hey, look at, you're not going to face 5, 8, 7, 8, 9, 8 every day, but you want to be overtrained and understand these things. So when it's time to just record that 3-chord country pop song and you have to write your own chart, you can nail it on that first take, that's going to be great. And then if you go to do that cruise ship audition or that off-Broadway show, and there is some odd times, you're going to be able to do that stuff. It's a skill set that you're going to want to have. And, I did my online acting classes and I did some media training. I taught the hosts of Good Morning America, like a live drum lesson, like via Zoom, which was crazy because I really had to go to my friend Sean Silva, who's this great filmmaker, use his studio, and we had to really make sure that there was going to be no delays and the lighting was right, that I could hear the hosts. So I really stayed really busy.
I saw you on that one in New York.
Yeah,
I think I reposted it on Instagram that day, but I saw you on with Amy.
Amy and hello.
Yeah,
it'll come
the
back
host.
We're over
right,
50. We got to take Amy Robach.
Yeah. So you did that drum.
You had the TJ.
Yeah, exactly. That was so great, man. It was just fun, and I think it made drumming seem super accessible to people. And you have such a great personality for it, for being television ready, and I thought that was great. I mean, you've done a lot of these cool little TV appearance things where you're bringing drumming to the mainstream in a different way. And inspiring people at the same time. It's really pretty incredible.
Well, thanks, man. Well, it's just that instrument. We just want to let people know that it's a friendly instrument. It goes back to the dawn of man. And there's so many things, the health benefits, you're improving your coordination and improving your circulation, using both sides of your brain, creating a sense of community, using your core, reducing negative emotions, burning calories, it's just a great instrument because it's so physical. It's mental and physical, uses both sides of the brain. It's a real great thing. We're so lucky. We really are.
Yeah, we really are blessed. I mean, it's pretty amazing too. Like if you take young kids that are having any kind of motor functions, drumming is a thing that can help correct that. Any kids that are having from an educator standpoint, it's like kids that are having trouble in school with concentration. This is like the gaming world has made these kids sort of have these tiny little attention spans. It's like they need something firing on all cylinders at all times. And I think
literally firing or attacking or coming to eat them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think obviously the psychological thing and the motor functions thing is really incredible. So I've taught in the past, especially not so much now, but kids that have had sort of these challenges, and seeing the benefits of it. You've done some teaching in your time. Are you doing any teaching now at all, or not really?
Yeah, I do. I'm still, I was teaching at the Musicians Institute, and the kids just had their finals, and grades are due today. So like everybody in my classes, I think got some A's, B's, and C's. It's usually in that flow. You get the A, B, and C's. So that was really fun. I'm taking the summer off from teaching at Musicians Institute. My good buddy Stuart Jean runs the program there, has been running it for a long, long time. He's wonderful. And we were in a pod socially for COVID. We would go over and, have food Postmated and like just to be over sanitizing 6 feet away from each other. We got through that thing, man. But this summer, I think I'm just going to revisit my band and rediscover playing the drums live and smell the roses and just kind of enjoy myself. Because I just don't think I'll ever take for granted the ability to hug the guys in my band, ride that 40-foot bus down the highway, go to catering in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, have the runner take me off to the gym, come back, sound check, rock people's face. Never will. I was never a person to take it for granted, but I'll never take that for granted. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like reframing. I think that's what COVID did for a lot of people and increased our humility and our appreciation and our gratitude. So
what was the first
ready, man.
You've done? What was the first show back, like the first hit after COVID?
It was about a month ago. We played the Bonnaroo Farm, where they have the Bonnaroo Music Festival for the last 20 years. And instead of playing to 25,000 people, we played to 5,000 people spaced apart in pods, which was very, very interesting. But hey, we didn't care. We felt safe on stage. It was great to see each other. It was great to go play that, that songbook for these people. I mean, these people that have been following us since 2004. I mean, we're looking at like 16 years of hits, and I'm lucky, that I work for an artist like Jason who can release like a R&B soul, like wedding type song. And then like a very fashion forward song that's like got like a rap verse, and then something that's very classic rock sounding. And then maybe just like a duet with Miranda Lambert that's very country, 3 chords and the truth. So it's all over the place. And I love that. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that was about a month ago, and we broadcast it to the world. It was like a pay-per-view concert. So it was like, hey, you guys haven't played in 14 months, but hey, this is being broadcast to the world. Now in COVID, since I was based mostly in Los Angeles, because I got a sexy girlfriend there, and we wanted to go through the quarantine together, which was a great decision. I probably flew 10 times. So that's like 20, so I had the face shield and the gloves and the wipes and the 2 KN95s. I mean, I did not want to get this thing. And thank God I didn't get it. And then when I was able to get the vax, because I was an educator in the state of California, it was so terribly exciting because it just provided a little peace of mind to relieve some of this stress anxiety that had been happening for 14 months.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. And actually, I wanted to ask you about your girlfriend is a pretty talented designer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like fashion designer?
Fashion designer, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that world.
We're both creatives, so if like there's any guys out there or gals, the gals might be shopping at revolve.com, but like everyone's shopping online right now. And if you go to revolve.com, I mean, half those things on there, my girlfriend's designs that are all the best sellers. And if you're a guy and you want to buy something sexy for your girlfriend, just go to revolve.com, and there's all sorts of stuff on there.
Sweet. That's so cool. So how is that seeing the fashion world through her eyes, since she's the creative side of that? Have you gone to like the fashion week and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't yet. She was trained at the Fashion Institute of Technology right there in Manhattan. And so like, I'm sure when the world opens completely back up in those kind of like, I would love to go to a runway show, or I haven't done any of those Sex in the City kind of like cosmopolitan sipping events, but, it's the same thing as the music business. It's, people that have a skill, and, it's all gathering around the watering holes, and networking a little bit and looking out for your fellow man and trying to collaborate with people. Really, all these kind of creative industries are exactly the same. It's driven by people, it's driven by talent, it's driven by people looking out for each other and wanting to communicate and collaborate. So it's really the same thing.
I want to just jump right into the crash thing. So, by the way, this is the book Crash, and it's a course for success: 5 ways to supercharge your personal and professional life. This is very cool, and actually, we just discussed that it's on Audible. So, you're reading it on Audible, right?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of make it sound like we were just like at a coffee house hanging, and I was extra smart and articulate that day.
Because I love audiobooks and I'm totally hooked. And like I'm into inspirational stuff, which obviously this covers that. You mentioned Zig Ziglar in here, and a fan of him, and also I'm a Stephen Covey fan. And Don Famularo wrote an inspirational book as well. Yours is really cool, and I love that actually you made the print a little bit bigger in this book. And there's some great images in here, including images of you as a kid. But I love the audiobooks as well. So like in the morning, I have the dog out for a couple hours for these long walks by the beach. So I put on my audiobooks, and now that I know it's on Audible, I'll be listening to you. But just talk about this. And I know that the acronym is commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, hunger.
And hunger. Yeah. Great, man.
Right?
See how easy that is to remember? And this goes way back. I started probably doing, drum clinics on the road with Al Dean, where we were building his career. We started touring in 2004. So around 2006, during the day, I just started going to when we would play a college campus, or we would play near a 5-star high school, or if there was a drum shop or a big chain like a Sam Astor Guitar Center, I would really just have to be like, we had flip phones at the time, and I would be, cold calling the community college percussion instructor and saying like, hey man, I'm like on campus, like playing the basketball arena next week. Can I come talk to your percussion students, for free? All I need is a drum set, and then it grew into like, I got the thing going with Sonar, and I would put the extra Sonar set of drums in the bay of the bus, and then people would pick me up, and I'd always be able to represent Sonar drums. And then when I aligned myself with DW, it was so easy because DW drums are everywhere on the planet, and like every music store or every local gigging hero or every guy that's a host that would want to host a clinic owns a DW drum set. So that made my life so easy. So I was kind of building that, but at the same time, there was always this kind of inspirational stuff that would be like motivational stuff, like positive takeaways that people could take with them, even if they weren't drummers. And then one day I was doing a clinic at my buddy Billy Cuthrell's place, Progressive Music Center in Raleigh, North Carolina, for like the 3rd time or something. And my friend, now great friend, Anthony Grady, was in the audience, and he said, hey man, I work at corporate America. There's some really positive takeaways here. You ever thought about being a motivational speaker? I was like, absolutely. It's one of my goals in life. I just didn't know how to do it. And he's like, well, da-da-da. And he hired me. And then, like anything, the world smiles on you, a door is opened, and then you start to build on that thing. But I just wanted it to be something easy that people could remember. So commitment, like obviously you have to have a great commitment to learn anything, especially the drums. And usually we start young. We're 7, 8, 9 years old. Some big life event happens. 1964, Beatles play Ed Sullivan. For me, it was 1983. The Police released Synchronicity. And I saw that concert and I was like, that's what I'm going to do with my life. So, you're committed to that craft. So practicing before school, practicing at school, practicing at lunch, practicing after school, doing all the all-state jazz bands, and just playing any gigs you can. That's the commitment. That's a lifelong thing. And then relationships, like you and I have this great relationship. I'm going to see you at PASIC, and we're going to give each other a big hug, and as we always do. And then attitude, attitude is like 99% of life. You could be great at your craft, which is an expectation, but when you're enthusiastic, people remember that enthusiasm is contagious, and people with a positive attitude, they're healthier, they make more money, they have more friends, they live longer, they have a more satisfying life. And it takes half the amount of energy to be a positive person than it does a negative person. So I just kind of try to stay there, encourage people to stay there. And then skills are very important, like not only trying to keep up with the Joneses, but like being forward thinking and not only being a master of your one craft, but maybe trying to expand because the world is changing so fast. We have to prepare for the future. So staying on top of new skill sets and mastering those things. And then hunger is that just having that fire that burns in your belly, that hunger for success, right? And I tell people that passion is your engine and hard work is the fuel. And if you choose the right thing, you're passionate about it, it's so easy to work hard because it doesn't feel like work. But
That's right.
you keep working harder and harder because it feels great to do it. And then success comes to you because you're working, you're putting the work in, you're putting in those 10,000 plus hours. When people say 10,000 hours, I say it's 10,000 hours are a minimum, really, because think about all the practicing that we've done and the schlepping of drums that gives us hernias. And we're moving our drums up to the 40th floor of some bank building to play some, some guy's 5th wedding anniversary or something. It's like all that stuff, it gets invested into your skill set bank account. And you have all this, practice equity, and then you could draw upon those things. So really that's Crash. And so it's half biography. I don't feel like I'm old enough to write a full biography like Kenny Aronoff, perfect age, right? I still got maybe, 10, 15 years before I want to write, I was born in Milford, Connecticut, like that whole thing,
Well, my guest next week, I don't know, I guess you've seen this.
Lib.
Yeah,
man.
Lib,
and it's an amazing book, and he treated himself to the hardback, and he deserves it.
Oh yeah, totally. So I went a few years down the road.
I went softback and with black and white because when you start doing the math, you're like, okay, this is bragging rights because this is going to cost more and you're going to make less, and But I don't know. Maybe the next one is hardback.
Yeah. No, but this this is really a great. I mean, just. The biographical thing is great, but also all these little quotes that you kind of compiled in here and stuff. I love that. Like early on, Tony Robbins, I was reading his books when I was younger, like when I was maybe 18 or 19. I was getting these Tony Robbins books. You'd see him on like an infomercial at like 2 a.m. with the teeth and the smile and I got one of his books and I went through it and I actually highlighted all of the quotes, because there's just incredible quotes. So I love that. I'll probably do that with your book, go through and highlight the quotes. I mean, you even have, I thought I saw Julie Andrews in here. Is that true?
She might be in there. And who also is really fond of that, who's another fellow drummer of ours, friend of ours, is Zorro, has written kind of like a motivational book, like one's called Soar, which is more like talking about your purpose. And then he wrote one called, The Big Gig, which is really like everything he knows about the music business and how to get from point A to point B without burning a million bridges. So, for people that really want to dig in, get the Aronoff book, get the Lib book, get the Carmine Appice book, get Zorro's books. I think Hal Blaine's got a book, Earl Palmer's got a book, Keith Moon's got a book. Yeah, read this stuff. It's good to dig in and kind of know what makes your heroes tick.
There's a Stuart Copeland book also.
Oh God, if anybody should know about that.
You should have that.
I should have that.
Yeah, Stuart Copeland, man, as far as that's pretty funny that you mentioned him specifically, and I think that's the case for a lot of drummers, that came up in the '80s or were a kid in the '80s getting inspired. Stuart Copeland is one of those guys. He's in my book. I have a couple pages called Officer Copeland, and there's just all these like transcriptions of opening fills and great fills from Stuart. So yeah, exactly, that one for sure. In a few minutes, I'm going to check in the chat and see if anybody has any questions. So if anybody has questions or comments, we'll definitely take that. I do want to ask you though. So name like the first. You did some corporates. Some big corporates, as I read in here, and the foreword was written by the gentleman who at the time was the CEO.
Jeff Christie from Cisco.
Cisco. I mean, that's like that's a big gig. And you've done, of course, every arena from here to wherever. And but doing like that kind of thing, like the first time where it was like a big corporate thing, was that like nerve-wracking, or was it sort of just like all the other gigs, like you go out and you? Because at that point, you have to play to energize everybody, but then you have to bring it when you're speaking, right? So,
sure.
Yeah.
you got to remember that a little bit of nervous energy means that you care. And
Yeah.
if you're Dom, the first time I presented at the Percussive Arts Society, what's coming up? Is it the 50th anniversary or the 60th? I should know this, but
I think
I
it's
think my
50th.
first clinic was at the 40th. It was 2010, right? And it was the night before, and you know how everybody's at the bar over there at Shula's, or right,
Yeah,
and it's
Shula's.
like getting late and right, and I'm like, I got to go to bed, man. My thing is at like 11 a.m. tomorrow or noon, and Dom goes, go get some sleep. He goes, but you're nervous. It's good. You need to be nervous. That means you care, right? So you do the things. Sometimes you get a little dry mouth. So you got your ice cold water backstage, right? We got our rudiments to, we got some push-ups and some planks and all your stretching. And then I've got this intro video that plays because I learned my lesson, because if you hand a script to some guy and he's like, our next speaker, Rich Redmond, and it's like, you don't want to risk that, right? Because that's the first impression. So you create a video, the lights go down. It's like a rock concert, and boom, you come out and they get a little dry ice in your drum set. The first thing I do is run to the drums or like scream like, what's up, Sacramento?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just a little one-man thing. And so you break the ice and get any more confidence that you need for yourself by playing your instrument,
right,
which is your home base. And then boom, you grab the mic like a stand-up comedian, and I'm a pacer. Like I just basically paint the stage back and forth. I'm like a rant comic, like Sebastian Maniscalco, and I'm sweating and I'm spitting. But the idea is that people can see the visceralness. They can see my passion. I wear it on my sleeve, that I'm all heart, that I'm trying to walk the walk. And I'm trying to, it's not rocket science, but I'm trying to share what I've learned to make whatever success I can from my God-given talents, and tell those people, like, this is what you can do with yours, and this is how you can improve your bottom line and have a better workplace culture, and not take the office home, or not take your personal life to the office, and how you can do just better, just be a better person, happier, thrive, not survive, but thrive in life. But yeah, of course it's nerve-wracking, but I have the gift of gab. Thank God. I'm not afraid. You give me a mic and I'll make it work, especially.
That's right.
And sometimes I've got like little index cards, like Mario Lopez, or, any good host out there. I've got some index cards, and you kind of look down. Like I've got a thing coming up next month at the Ryman Auditorium. It'll be my third year that I host a big School of Rock fundraiser. And there's like 1,000 kids there playing in different ensembles. And then there's a couple of guests. We'll get up and we'll play like Foo Fighters songs or Rush songs with the kids. And then it's back to hosting mode. And I got to keep the energy going, introduce all the guests. And that's just fun for me. It's kind of like the Dom thing. Dom, we're mentioning Dom a lot tonight, but, people noticed that he had that natural ability. And that's why he hosts and MCs and interviews a lot of people in our industry,
Yeah. He brings that energy.
His wheelhouse.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And his story is amazing. I had him on as a guest. I mean, I know Dom a long time as well, so I know most of the stories. But his story is really interesting in that he really he was a stammerer, and he had the stuttering problem when he was a kid, and so he went from that, being a stutterer and not being able to see well, to then being able to command all these stages. Every major drum event in the world is pretty much Dom as the MC, right? So it's pretty incredible.
I mean, but very impressive.
Yeah. And I will say that, your energy and what you bring to the stage, because I saw that clinic in 2010. Dom and I were backstage talking to you, I think at the beginning or the end of it. But
yeah,
you bring that same enthusiasm and that same level of energy like what Dom brings. And I think that's it's rare. I don't see that from that many guys, that can command the room that way. So
well, the side effect of that is going full force into every area of your life like that. So it's like, work in a room at a party is like massive energy. You put, and then like, oh, I discovered, MySpace, and I was like, I'm gonna be on this thing and right now I don't even know, like some of my friends have noticed, some haven't, but like I'm like taking a massive break from social media. Like I'm posting, the important things and keeping the things alive, and not abandoning it. But I went crazy on that stuff, like, and it could come off the wrong way. But usually my intention was good, which was like, hey, I'm doing this thing.
Right.
I'm really excited about it. And I want you to come. You know what I mean? It's pretty innocent. You know what I mean? But it can be when you're on all the time where it's like, I got a masterclass. I got a clinic. I'm recording today. Here's
right.
the bus. Here's my breakfast cereal. It's like,
here's my
all
burrito.
right, man,
Yeah. I know.
I know. I'm just like,
yeah. Well, there is some danger in that, being sort of, because then it gets diluted when people see it too much, right? So it has more of an impact when, you're kind of disappear a little bit and then bam, you pop in with something really good. I feel it's kind of funny because I do all these live streams, these free live streams, and just every week I feel like I have to make this connection to people. So hopefully people are taking it that I'm trying to share something, that I'm building a community, and that I'm trying to showcase other drummers and highlight what it is we do in the industry, and hopefully inspire people to do it as well. I feel like, you're podcasting, right? So how long have you had the podcast on for?
I should think I would know the exact date, but it feels like 2 years or under. And I would say the first, we got 124 episodes. I got another 20 in the can to drip out. We usually drip out 2 a week. I would say I really need to be better about every Monday and Thursday. You know what I mean? Like a lot of serious podcasters, like the Mark Marons of the world, they just do not miss.
Right.
And I got a co-host, my buddy Jim McCarthy, who's a voiceover artist, and he produces podcasts. He has his own podcast. Great entrepreneur guy. He'll run into a busy week or something with his kids, and he's like, man, I can't get it out until Wednesday. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Rake him over the coals? It's just like, no, we just, it's like one of the many things I do. But I would say about 2 years, and I would say maybe like the first 50 episodes were in person right here in Crash Studio. So a bunch of people sitting around a table, drinking coffee. You got the lights, you got the Mevo, got the sign in the back. It's so fun. It's like a real professional studio. And then we started doing it on Zoom, and the production quality isn't as high, but hey, during COVID, we had the same production value as the Tonight Show.
That's right.
Good Morning America, which is, and it makes it easy that if you're in Los Angeles, you can interview somebody in Nashville. If you're in Nashville, you can interview somebody in Los Angeles or anywhere in the world, really. So Zoom was a good thing for us. So we would, you get the little squares, the Hollywood squares. You put the little, what their little Instagram handle is on. You put it in a bug, you wrap it, and then you drip it out there, man. And it's fun. And like all things in my life, I don't necessarily feel like I'm a household name where it's like millions of people are consuming it, but the people that do consume it are massively, rabidly passionate about it and tune in every week.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And I love it and I appreciate it. And I just tell them to, tell their friends.
That's it, man. I think, it's really funny because I was not, before COVID, it's kind of funny. I didn't really get the whole podcast thing. Like I knew about podcasts, but I just never dipped my toe in that pool. And then, over COVID, I started discovering drummer podcasts, right? So all these different Drummers Resource and Big Fat Five and like all these different ones that I was finding, like the guys from Big Fat Snare Drum, it's and your podcast, and it's like it's really amazing. Daniel Glass has one that's really history based, all this great stuff. Nick Ruffini's thing, it's like it's really
Nick's the king, man.
He's the guy, man. I think he's
kind of set it all up,
Yeah, he's like the first guy, probably, right, for the drum community.
I think he's got like something like 700 something episodes, and
yeah,
I was really early on. I think he's had me on like 3 times, which is pretty sweet. And he just really knows what he's doing. And he was like I said, he was first on the scene. He really figured it out.
Yeah,
figured out a way to market it. He's got great sponsors, and he wanted to go super narrow. So like it's a drum podcast where you're going to talk to people about their influences and their training, their professional career, maybe some personal life stuff in there, food, sports will maybe find their way in there. But for me, I didn't want to go narrow. And that's the problem with mine is it's going to take a lot, who knows, because I didn't want to talk about lug locks and widgets and paradiddles. I wanted to have the freedom to interview a comedian or an author or an actor, because I feel like the creative arts are so similar. so many athletes want to be musicians, so many actors want to be musicians, musicians want to be actors, and we all covet each other's lifestyles and creative pursuits. And and there's so much cross pollination and similarities between all the pursuits. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. And
it really is.
I would say, speaking about that and that cross pollination, you're one of the few drummers I've come across that have an IMDb page. So like you, because you're dipping into the acting thing for a while now, and I was like, man, you actually have like, a film resume up, which Little Steven does, right? But it's like for musicians.
Oh yeah, have you seen Lilyhammer?
Oh my God, Lilyhammer is great.
That's great. And you look at what he did now when you talk to Lib was originally up for that part.
Was he?
I believe. Lib was up for a part on The Sopranos. And he said, I'm not an actor. And I always tell him, you should have just taken it and learned on the job, man. But, because these guys are really, it's like they're 90% their real life essence and 10% of diving into something else and adjusting things to tell a story through someone else's eyes. But I mean, when I see Lilyhammer, I see that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, so the acting that I'm doing, am I going to do Shakespeare? Probably not. Am I going to do period pieces with white wigs and English accents? Probably not. But, while I'm in the game and enjoying it, I'll play teachers, husbands, douchey friends, music producers, the drummer with a couple lines, cops, detectives, all in my wheelhouse, right? And I've been at it for 6 years. I got my SAG card. I got my butt into Netflix horror films. I got to act with Christopher Maloney from Law and Order SVU. Little victories, and this was all around touring and recording and teaching full time. So to be able to just get that far and pull that off, was like the grace of God, man.
It's insane, like how many toes are in different pools with you. It's like pretty amazing, man. It's remarkable.
Oh, man. But that's why.
But you bring the same like level of like passion and drive to each individual thing, which is amazing. I don't know how you do it all.
My paradiddles cap out. They cap out at a certain BPM. Whereas if I only played drums, you know who I get so jealous of, and you're like, hey, you can play it today if you want. I'm like, I'm not quite there with the setup. I mean, you got me there. Now I need to really lock it in. I'm such a song drummer. Like I started off as a technical drummer. You like learning, all right, 2 in the hand, 2 in the feet. Carmine Appice. 4 in the hand, 2 in the feet. And then you start putting it all together and you're like, all right, how can I break up the paradiddles? Oh, then the inverted paradiddle, then the diddle in the middle, the diddle. And then then I learned about songs and song structure and the great song drummers. And it's like, I really prefer playing my instrument with other people. It's a thing now,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's about serving the song. I mean, that's how many number one hits? 28 number one hits that you're on or more now, right?
Well, that's just lucky because it's just who I knew and who knew me, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of hard work and sweat that went into that luckiness. Like, I mean, you mentioned the quote in your book. I say it all the time. The harder you work, the luckier you get. So,
sure.
But, serving the song is really, I think, what it's all about for music, for me too. I mean, I work for songwriters. So it's sort of like, if you can bring something to the table that makes somebody feel something from the part that you played on the song or what your little part was in that song, I think that we've done our job, right? So
yeah,
all the chops in the world
I know what
don't
I was going
mean
to tell
anything.
you. Thomas Lang. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on. There's the whole culture of the delay in Zoom, and you have to like be polite about apologizing about stepping on, because I've been stepping on people for a year. I was going to say Thomas Lang has this childlike energy on his instrument that has never waned. And the guy just loves playing the drums, and he just has these goals to keep pushing and pushing the envelope. I'm like, you got 3 hi-hat pedals over here and a wood block and a left foot snare drum. And it's like, and I get on his kit and I feel like such a doofus because I'm like, boom, whack, a booga boom, whack. But when I do play alone on my instrument, I do like doing funny things like putting the big fat snare jingles on the hi-hat or attaching some LP things and like laying rivets or chains on and playing with like timpani mallets and having one drum that's just wide open, like bass drum, and the timpani mallets and really dark cymbals, and just creating something in that space where it's not really even about rudiments, but like just vibe and like creating little melodies. That's so fun. I love
that's the creative child thing, right? It's like when we started, you know, I always tell this, I'm going to jump into the chat in a moment, but I always tell the story when I was in 5th grade. I didn't really own any drums yet, but I had a practice pad. I was taking lessons, and walking home from school in 5th grade, I found a bass drum in a tree that had been like tossed out of an apartment building. And so it like got caught on a branch, and it was low enough that I could climb up this tree a little bit and pull this drum down. And it was sort of like a red pearl, like it had sort of that marine pearl finish, but in red. With like a really messed up head with tape all over it. And I took it home and flipped it over like a table, and I was playing on this bass drum. And I was playing on paint cans with mallets because somebody gave me a pair of mallets and sticks, and I was playing on that bass drum. And I would spend hours just making up melodies on paint cans. It's like, you know, that's where it all comes from, right? And if we can keep that sort of childlike enthusiasm about the instrument and experimenting, and you know, that's really what keeps us happy about playing, right? It keeps that joy.
Yeah, because the business itself will beat you down. So you really have to be tapped into the joy of playing the instrument. And, you know, as your career progresses and you're 23 hours on the bus, or you're, you know, in that airport wearing the 2 masks and the face shield because you're going to fly to Nashville and do a session to make $720, but the flight was 500. But you do it because you got to, and because it's your craft, you know, that's the thing that keeps you centered, you know, and moving forward in a positive way with a positive attitude. But you know what happened with that bass drum is that some guy broke up with his girlfriend and she got mad and she threw his drums out the window.
That's probably exactly what happened. And I got to benefit from that. Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm going to want to go back to kind of the beginning. With you, and just like kind of where it all started. But I'm gonna overlay the chat in my little window so people could see the questions coming up. But so I got to put on my goggles because I'm blind.
I got to tell you, man, you're a great host. You got a future in this. And we were talking off camera. You should just grab the audio from this, and then you just turn it into a podcast. It's easy. Done.
Yeah, definitely. So Chris de Chiara, I think Chiara, I think. Chris De Chiara. De Chiara. He said, woo, with this. Pat Ross, hello, James, and a special hello to my friend and drum brother, Rich Redmond. Greetings from the 6th floor orthopedic center at St. Vincent's Hospital in Erie, PA. Pat Ross just had his knee reconstructed. So.
Oh, all right. Well, rest up, Pat, man. Rest up and relax, man.
Hopefully you'll be on the drums real soon, right? So. Yeah. Verbus Diablo is here again. I saw you Monday night last week, so Verbus Diablo, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate that. Lucia Seminara, one of my 12-year-old female students, Lucia Rose Seminara. She's so sweet, very talented, plays multiple instruments, great little drummer. She said, good evening, Jim and Rich. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm sure, Lucia, you're going to have questions. I know you always do. Vincent LaRussa says hi. You met Vincent with me at one of the PASICs. He's one of my students that's an adult student that turned out to be just a great friend of mine, but I brought him to PASIC a few years, and I know he definitely met you, so he's checking in. Yeah. He said, change up on the red shirt. Thank you. Yes, I usually wear black. I'm wearing red tonight for Redmond.
Hey, this is great because we like black. We got black and red happening all over the place.
That's right. Yes. My studio, your studio. By the way, Rich is coming to us from Nashville today. But Rich also takes up residence part-time in L.A., doing the L.A. thing and the Nashville thing, so we'll talk about that. He needs a place here in New York. You can always crash at my place. Sure. Bob Sears saying good evening to all. Let's see. Pat Ross is now an Offset user. Excellent. Let's see. Christopher Schneider's here. Holy moly. Lucia said, question for Rich. I knew it. What drummer inspires you the most and why? Who are your favorite artists to work with? This is a three-parter. And who are some authors that inspired you to write your book? So let's go with the first one. Favorite art. What drummer inspires you the most and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. And I think that all of us drummers don't like to show. If you just came with one name, it's very difficult because I love Nigel Olsson for the way he played a ballad. I loved Kenny Aronoff for the showmanships with the arm way above the head in an arena. I love the multicultural influences of Stuart Copeland. I loved Alex Van Halen's snare drum sound and the way he would play with his brother flawlessly. I loved Liberty DeVito's soulfulness and how he locked in with Billy and was able to like flesh out these songs and do like outside of the box thinking, even when the song just needed boom schmack,
yeah, exactly.
He would find some little Mona Lisa moment in there. I loved Carmine Appice for introducing the double bass drums into, rock and roll and the showmanship and the art of the drum solo. I loved Gene Krupa for coming back from behind the drums and putting us to the front of the stage. I loved Ringo for making everybody want to be a drummer and just letting us know that listen to that time, listen to what you can do with these songs and the creativity and the tea towels. And he did all that stuff with one snare drum and he just changed the tuning of that one snare drum. So I try to take something from every drummer I meet and I try to steal from them and I try to put it in my bag of tricks. And when you steal from them, you could play the same licks on the same set of drums tuned exactly the same way. And you're still going to sound completely like yourself while tipping the hat to your heroes. So
definitely,
that's just the tip of the iceberg for people that influence. As far as like writing who do I like to work with artistically? Everyone that I've ever worked with outside of Jason Aldean usually has come from a recommendation from somebody that I know in the music business. So your reputation preceding you, very, very important. Never burn a bridge. Always try to exceed expectations. But from my relationship with Jason Aldean and his organization of 22 years, that allows me to work with the Ludacris's and the Joe Perrys and, the Keith Urbans. And sometimes that's on a record date. Sometimes they jump up on stage on us for 2 nights on a concert. Sometimes we do a television show together. But the main thing is if you're playing with that person and you're playing old time rock and roll with Bob Seger, you're allowed to put that guy on your resume because there's about 1 million bands who are playing old time rock and roll at the corner strip mall bar on Friday and Saturday night, but I got to do it with Bob Seger. Right?
That's right.
So you want to look for those Mona Lisa moments in your life and be prepared for those things, but then really enjoy them as well. And then as far as like writing a book, I was always into, motivationally in the Napoleon Hills,
right,
and all the great thinkers, all the positive thinkers. Of course, if you want a good scare, I love Stephen King. And then as far as like people that were mixing music and motivation, Cycle of Self-Empowerment, Don Famularo, and Kenny was putting out his book and Mark Schulman was putting out his book and Carmine was putting out his book. And, these guys that are all just a little older than me. So they were heroes of mine. And I was looking up to them for inspiration. And I was like, I got to get in the mix here. I got to get this thing out. And I think the Crash book could have come out way sooner, but I was paralyzed by perfectionism. And there's a lot of people that say, dude, just get the thing out. Just get your first book out. Get it done. I mean, even that book I wrote, Fundamentals of Drumming for Kids, published by Modern Drummer, distributed by Hal Leonard, that went through 12 edits,
Wow.
and, the Crash book was a lot thicker. And then it just got smaller and smaller and more direct and more succinct. And the font got bigger and I started using more pictures. And it's a process. If you decide to write a book, you're going to learn so much about yourself and how to clearly express thoughts and concepts and the art of storytelling, so I hope that helps. Great questions.
Very good questions. Thank you for that. John Gill is here, and I don't know if you know John. He's from Oneonta, New York, and actually, John Gill possibly vicariously through Bobby Angeletta, right?
Oh yeah,
because John Gill, Bobby Angeletta, and Janine Canino Fox do the O for Drum's Sake podcast, and
right.
which I've been a guest on a few times, but I know you know Bobby, and so John is in that camp. And
Right.
he has a question, and he said, when will you be coming to New York with Jason?
Hey, let me look at the schedule here. I know we're playing Jones Beach, man. We're playing Jones Beach. Can you guys still see me? Because I opened my calendar.
Yeah.
You can still see me? All right, good.
Yeah, definitely.
This is good to know.
Yeah, tell me when.
Virginia Beach, Thursday, August 5th.
Wait, Jones Beach?
Sorry, Jones Beach. Sorry, Virginia Beach is on Thursday. Holmdel, New Jersey, PNC Bank Pavilion on Friday, August the 6th. Saturday, August the 7th, Jones Beach.
Oh, man. If I'm not working, I'll be there. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Jones Beach.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate, because every time we play there, it rains.
Yeah. It's tough with those outdoor, wide open sort of spaces, right?
Yeah, and there's no covering there, so those poor people have to be rabid fans. I don't think I would sit out in the rain to watch Zeppelin. I mean, I'm not sitting out in the rain.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. And down by that beach, it gets pretty windy. But that sounds great. So let me see. I think there's one other. Oh, so John Gill was asking about your drum book for kids, which you just had mentioned, and what inspired you to write a drum book for kids?
Well, I have a friend, Michael Albrecht. I never met a stranger. He was a stranger. He reached out to me. Michael Albrecht. He had written like 10 books on the Civil War and baseball. He loves Civil War and he loves baseball, and he's a drum hobbyist, and he wanted to teach his kids how to play the drums. And he's like, I don't really feel like there's a lot of great books on this subject. He goes, and so we started getting to talking, and I was like, well, let's write the book. And so we wrote the book. Like I said, it took 12 edits, and he knows how to get to the finish line as an author. So I was like, let's combine our talents. I'm a professional drummer. You're a drum hobbyist who happens to be an author who's gotten the 10 books across the finish line. So let's talk to the kids about the history of drums and the basics of rhythm and famous drummers. And they have little rhythmic flashcards, and they learn about counting. And then before you know it, they learn about the stroke, and then we get them right on the drums playing what I call the money beats.
Right.
And while they're playing the money beats, these are practical beats that they can actually play at their, bar mitzvah. They can play these beats. They're also learning how to read music, which is like one of the top tenets of my teaching philosophy, because if you know how to read music, it'll allow you to learn material faster, which will allow you to be in more bands, which will allow you to create more opportunities for yourself. And the more opportunities you're putting yourself out there for, the more there might likely work out. Like in 1999, I was in 27 bands, and most of those bands are gone. A couple of them survived, and I cultivated and maintained the relationships from those bands. But there's no way I would have been able to be in 27 different bands if I couldn't read music and write out a chart, you know? So it's a skill that is worth any kind of blood, sweat, and tears you can invest into yourself. Get that Ted Reed book, get a great teacher. And if you're a teacher that works with young kids, I hear a lot of positive feedback from teachers that are like, I like this book. I mean, because I can hit the really young kids. They're like, we're going to name the parts of the drum set. Now here's some flashcards. Here's a pizza. That's a whole note. Here's a half a pizza. That's a half a note, as Bobby Angeletto would say. Right. And then before you know it, even like a 50-year-old man, you could get him playing those money beats, and he's learning how to read the beats, right? Yeah. So works 100%. For a 5-year-old, works for a 50-year-old that acts like a 5-year-old.
That's true. That is very true. I had, it's funny, I had a student come to me who was a retired welder, and he was like in his 70s, and he played as a little kid, kind of didn't learn that much, came back to it in his 70s, first lesson, telling me he doesn't want to learn to read, and just by saying, well, just check this thing out. So I had some notes on a page for the basic money beat, right? 1 on the bass drum, 3 on the snare, 4 quarter notes on top, right? Can't go wrong with 4 numbers.
Oh, so 1,
2, 3, 4, 1, right? So he sees it on paper, and he's like, oh, wow, that's like so simple. Then he's like, okay, I guess I'm going to learn to read. It's like, it's such an important skill, and I think it's people that are resistant to it, you can trick them into it for sure. So that book is probably the best way to go about that. So, and John, Do you have the book? Do you have it? Tell us. Joey Pinto's hanging with us. What's up, Joey Pinto? Chris said inspiration. So, yes, much inspiration here with Rich tonight.
Oh,
Daniel Michael said, sorry I'm late. That's okay. I'm glad you're here. Joey Pinto said, don't forget us weekend warriors. Of course not.
I think you guys have got it figured out, because you can have jobs with 401ks and health insurance and all that, and you could feed a family and then afford really nice drums. And then on the weekend, you go and you scratch that itch. I mean,
that's right.
I mean, that is a good thing. I mean, I think that some guys have got it really figured out.
It's a beautiful thing. And it really, I think it doesn't matter to what level you're doing it. If you're doing it because you love it, that's what it's all about. I know people that have tried to stop playing music and just always come back to it. Always come back. They'll sell off their instruments.
Never stop playing.
Yeah.
I mean, never stop playing, especially, and drummers, like, that's whole Drumeo.'s business model, is the idea that the doctors and lawyers that quit playing, that just all of a sudden have an epiphany, like, oh my God, I so missed this,
Yeah. Oh man, I just had a great example of that, and it just went pew when you said the Drumeo thing. It just flew away. All right, we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Well, that's inspiring. Like, people that, they have a trade their entire life, and then they do well with their money, and they're like, okay, I'm going to retire. I'm going to play a little golf. I'm going to live by the water. And then they rediscover some childhood thing that they forgot about, and they fall more in love with it than ever. And they have nothing but time on their hands to pursue it. That sounds so fun and cool. I hope that I discover something. That was kind of like the acting thing for me. It was like, oh my God, I've been playing drums since 1976. And this other little thing that's somewhat related and is still creative, but is difficult as heck and competitive as heck, but I'm still going to jump into those waters. And it helps my drumming, and it helps my speaking, and it helps my confidence and my humanity and my understanding and respect for other art forms. So, if you have a pull to do something other than the drums, go do it. Most likely you're going to come back to the drums anyway.
That's right. I always say you have one ride on the merry-go-round. Make it count,
Yeah. Eat that cake first and then go work out.
Yeah, exactly. My mom's here, so my mom's hanging out. Dale Toscano.
Your mom's here?
Yeah, my mom's hanging. Good to see you, Mom. Glad you're in the chat. Maybe you got a question
for
Rich.
Does she like your gray hair? Does she like your gray hair?
Does she like my gray hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. Like, I was dyeing it for a really long time. And then one day I just said, forget it. I'm just going to let it go. And I let it go. And yeah, she digs it.
Awesome.
It's funny because when I was 18, just graduating high school, I had like a stripe of gray in the back that just kept coming back. And I was like, well, that's my future. There it is. My dad was salt and pepper at a young age. Like, probably by the time he was in his 30s, it was like salt and pepper. So rest in peace, Dad. I just lost him recently.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about
All good. Didn't want to bring the show to a halt, but Mom made me think of it. Joey Pinto, no more questions. It's not really a question. Will you be at the Music City Drum Show in August, from Chris DeCaria?
Chris, I would love to be there, but I thankfully am going to be riding a tour bus with my best friends.
Awesome.
So have fun.
Peter Retzlaff is in the house. Peter, we have to get together. We have to figure out, get a date done for Pete. Do you know Peter at all? He's an educator, great jazz drummer, great educator at Drummers Collective in New York City. And so Peter's redone his studio. He was supposed to be a guest on my show a few weeks ago, so he's going to be on soon. But Peter's hanging with us tonight, so awesome.
Nice. What's up, Peter? I look forward to meeting him. I am so overdue for a Drummers Collective clinic, because I did one, I think, 8 years ago or something like that. And every year we talk about it, some travel nightmare happens, or a global pandemic. So,
or a global pandemic, one or the other.
Yeah.
Peter has a great book called Baby Steps to Giant Steps. It's a jazz independence book, and it's got great play-alongs.
Great.
And the play-alongs all have the one that I love. It goes, let's pick it up a little. So like each one has a little thing before the count-off about the tempo, sort of. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see. Thank you for the answers. Oh, so that was delayed, but Lucia was thanking you for all the answers. And John Gill was saying, yes, he has your book for kids. So awesome.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, John.
So before we get too lost in the chat, I'm going to put that away for the moment. And I have some other questions that I've been burning to get to. Let me just take the little overlay away. So
hey, are we using the same readers? I got 6 pairs for $15
at Costco
from Jeff Bezos.
Oh, okay. I get them from Costco. So
yeah.
How many came in your pack?
Either 5 or 6 pairs.
Yeah, for $15, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably have the same ones. Yeah. I got a pair in the studio, got a pair in the car, got a pair in my office, got a pair upstairs.
And you're still always looking for them.
And I lose them all the time. I had one of those stupid little chains on it like a week ago. I broke it, caught a drumstick in it, and broke it off. So.
Oh, the one you wear around your neck?
Yeah. I had that because I kept every time I bend over, I would tuck it on my shirt and it would fall off.
Yep.
And then my dog Cooper will steal them and then break them on me. So that's the other thing. So I go through a lot of these readers. So I wanted to ask you about the whole start. So I think you started when you were like 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Connecticut. 6, 7, or 8. Like, because I have some method books that say 1976. I have some method books that say 77, 78.
Nice.
And I was, going through some old method books, and I saw one was one of my first method books, and it's got Battlestar Galactica stickers all over the cover. It's so cute, but it's like a lot of like. Do
you know what book that was? Do you remember?
God, I don't remember it, but it's downstairs, but I don't want to break up our flow to go look for it.
I still have my original Ted Reed, my original Stick Control, and my original Nard.
Oh my God, keep talking. The pile is right here.
Oh.
The pile is right here.
The Nard book, my Nard book is literally in pieces. But all those early books, man, I have all these original ones. And my Chapin book, my Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer. And my Chapin book has the red sort of, plastic binder on the side. And somebody else's scribbles from like the early 60s because it was passed down to me.
Look at all these stickers.
What?
Cassiopeia, Starbuck, Cylon.
Great.
And this is Carl Gardner's Progressive Studies for the Snare Drum.
Oh, wow.
Starts with quarter notes. November 3rd, 1978. Wow. So, yeah, 8 is safe.
Wow.
Bop, 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 right?
That's so great, man.
I am so grateful for that, really.
It's so funny. Like, I love drum books. So I want to have them all. There's no time to go through them all, right? You wish you could. Like, I have all the Chafee books. I've gone through parts of all the Chafee books. Gary Chester's New Breed. I've gone through that. There's certain books. I did go page after page after page through Horacio Hernandez's Conversations in Clave book. I did that whole book cover to cover. But most books, I don't get to do it cover to cover, right? But it's like we have that desire to still learn. And I just collect every single drum book I can get my hands on. So.
Yeah, no, I have quite a few.
So like 8 years old, what is the moment when you said, and I think you answered it earlier, but when you said, yeah, I want to do that. Like you saw something. What made you want to pick up the sticks in the first place?
Well, I was hitting everything. And I think that my dad secretly had a fantasy about being a drummer. He's like, this kid's got that thing. So maybe he can play the drums and I'll live out my fantasies through my son being a great drummer because my dad was an accountant, right? So, he counts to, beyond 4. I count to 4, sometimes 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So I'll, but he just noticed that. So I went and I got these drum lessons, and my teacher was like, hey, this kid is like, really has a natural, he's got a knack for this. This is great. But I was so young, like 8 years old, still wanted to play with my Star Wars figures, still wanted to build tree houses, still wanted to ride my banana bike. So a couple years passed, we moved to El Paso, Texas, and I joined the 5th grade band. Now I'm 11. And then I had all that experience where I can already do the press roll, already knew the flam. Then I just had to learn how to crash the piatti and warm up the bass drum and learn my scales on the glockenspiel and get a good tone on the timpani. And you start putting it all together. Fell in love with it. Then the Police come out in 1983 when I'm 13 or 12 or 13. And then it's like, boom, the wheels are in motion. This passion has a platform. There's a focus. There's a path. And I never stopped, and it was like Texas was great because every semester in high school and college and my master's degree, it was like marching band, concert band, percussion ensemble, steel drum ensemble, big band, small group jazz, like every semester, like for years. And so you're learning this really super challenging music. And then I go out and start gigging in the real world, playing in top 40 bands and, playing smooth jazz and doing jingles. And it's like the training was invaluable. And then when I find my way into Nashville, what Nashville taught me was I had to figure out how to edit all this dense playing that I learned at University of North Texas with Ed Soap and Ron Fink and Robert Stroma and Alan Shin at Texas Tech University. I had to edit and just start learning about playing pop music and country music and how these session drummers thought, the Larry Londons, the Hal Blaines, the Earl Palmers, the Jeff Porcaros, and, then Eddie Bears, Lonnie Wilson. Now these guys are all friends of mine, but I studied them to figure out how to really play a song. And it really took just a lot of editing because you're not playing sping, spang-a-lang, bang, spag-a-lang. You could do whatever you want with your left hand to comp. And you could break up the hi-hat like Tony. No, it's like 3.5 minutes. And what are you going to do within that thing to make that thing memorable and make it musical and then somehow be satisfied doing it,
Yeah. And just going back to college, so you did the 1 o'clock lab band, right? Under Ed Soap. You studied with Ed Soap.
Yeah, I studied with Ed Soap, and the director was Neil Slater. Right. And I played percussion with Jim Riggs in the 2 o'clock lab band, and then of course Robert Stroma and Ron Fink. They did the private lessons and the percussion ensemble, and I was even lucky enough to be the rehearsal drummer. We did a tribute to the music of Frank Zappa. Frank passed at a very young age, and he was so prolific. He had like 100 records, or maybe he died at 50 or something, or
he was quite young
50s.
Yeah.
And he had 50 records out. It's like, how did this guy do that? And Chad Wackerman was his drummer. And so I got to be the rehearsal drummer to get the percussion ensemble in shape. And then when Chad showed up, he took my seat and I had to go back to the back and play tambourine and bass drum.
Oh man.
But it was awesome,
But watching Chad do that must have been really special.
Yeah. The first thing I learned was when you're playing the music of Frank Zappa, pianissimo on the chart is still about a mezzo forte.
Okay.
Because you're playing in a rock band. Pianissimo is very soft for a rock band.
Yeah.
So, triple forte is effing loud. Right?
Yeah.
I was approaching it in a dynamic constraint of playing within a modern percussion ensemble where triple P is at the edge of the snare drum. And he was like, no. Triple P is like, you might be cracking a rim shot.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that's an amazing experience. And if you think about it, it's more about, because even if you don't use those skill sets again at any point, or maybe you do draw from it, but it's that discipline that you have to go through to play all that music that you did in college, the 1 o'clock lab band, having that pressure to play all of this stuff. And that really shapes the discipline, I would think, to be able to execute when you need to execute and be there on the money.
Yeah. And you know what? It was my relationship with jazz music. Like I played 4 years of jazz music in high school, 4.5 years of jazz music in my undergraduate degree, and then another 3 years of jazz music, and then working around Dallas. So we're talking 15 years of a relationship with jazz music and wanting to, be pretty good at that and be able to reference the drummers and have my vocabulary and read the charts and switch from brushes to sticks. And, I can still do it. it's got pretty darn good at it. But then, then there's long periods of time where I just never played it again. You know what I mean? And your tastes change. But that stuff is in there. If I had to do a cruise ship gig or a Broadway, it's like you can access the odd times and the shbang-a-lang. And what you do in a lot of those ensembles is the chart will say, like, you're reading ahead and it says like 12/8, Elvin 12/8. So you're like, ding, ding, got it, doing the Elvin thing. And then it's like, dang, double time, ding, da, ding, bing, ding, ding, go, ding, ding, go, that ding. Then it says, now to Latin, ding, got, ding, and being able to maintain the quarter note and do these things and read the figures and play the dynamics and follow the conductor and lead the band. And then when it goes to the solo section, boom, then you're in a small group setting. Like, it takes a while to get good at that stuff. And it's good to have in your back pocket, even though when you come see me play with Jason Aldean, I'm going to be up here like riding on this thing like Nickelback, right? But believe me, I have this whole concept where it's like, intro, I'm using this kind of color, verse, tight hi-hat, still playing a rim shot, but maybe not as loud. And then as the song progresses, I'm making all these various choices that are very purposeful to bring the song to life, right? So none of your training or lessons are ever going to go to waste, no matter where you end up. Look at Josh Freese. The guy can go from playing with Devo to, to Danny Elfman soundtracks to playing with the Vandals.
Right. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, and I think, as far as the gig that you have now, your main gig, you're bringing the showmanship, you're bringing the great groove, all that skill that you have that shaped you, and you're bringing something that reaches people. I don't care if your seat's right in the front or in the very back of an arena somewhere, you're reaching people the way that you present it. And so, like, when I saw you in that first clinic at PASIC, I was like, man, like, you're really impacting the people that are sitting in the back against the wall like this, those people at PASIC. And it's like, you're hitting everybody, and that's a skill set in and of itself. Being able to bring that to life on big stages like that, where you don't look small on stage at all, even though there might be a guy all the way in the blue seats in the back.
Yeah.
You're still seeing that. I mean, of course, you have all the screens and stuff up on stage, but I mean, you really bring that, and that's a skill in and of itself. And so, did you work on that, the showmanship thing? Did you spend a lot of time on that at some point, saying like, man, I need to shape that?
I think that, I've always been just like my girlfriend calls me a show pony. Like, there's some people in the industry, she's like, I'm behind the scenes. Some guys like to be producers or they like to be session musicians. They're like, oh, I don't want to ride the bus. And that's a lot of pressure to go out there and do that thing. But I just I think God said, thank you, God. He said, you are an arena drummer. And then everything from that, around that is me adjusting the dials to fit into playing that bar mitzvah or the supermarket grand opening or the wedding with the little tent and it's raining and you got to play Kenny G with blast sticks, but I'm doing it with a smile on my face. But my modus operandi, like when I get up in the morning, it's like larger than life anime caricature of what a drummer is, so trying to be a good musician, but at the same time, just share that love, that passion, that energy, communicate with an audience, reach the back row is something that just came real easy to me. And then, of course I put things to work, like, you learn Carmine's, fake twirl,
right.
20 rows back, this looks larger than life. And you start doing various things with it. And then just little flips and little things that I learned in marching band that you steal, little flips and the Dino Danelli chokes,
right.
All that stuff is really useful to like, just kind of bring people into your world as long as it doesn't distract. Like I'm never going to do the Tommy Lee rim shot where on the floor tom where the thing goes 20 feet into the air and I'm playing and then boom, catch it. Like, because it's way too risky.
Yeah.
I would never do it. Never do it.
Yeah, because that kind of risk, that's not cool. And maybe it worked in that type of scenario for like Tommy Lee, like Motley Crue, that kind of. But yeah, like you don't want to miss a single snare hit because you dropped the stick and it looks goofy, right? So, but
Yeah.
and on that gig, I mean, as far as a technical standpoint, you're playing to some. There are some tracks going on. There are some drum machine parts going on, right? Are you running
Yep.
that stuff
Yeah.
yourself from a laptop on stage? How is that happening?
Oh, we're super spoiled. We're just we're the OGs, man. We're like the old guys in the bar now. So there's a guy off the side of the stage that's got two computers talking to each other, and he presses space bar. So when I see that everybody has their guitars on stage, there's a lot of guitar changes. I got the whites of everyone's eyes. I go, hit it, and I pre-recorded my own voice on a count off, and we've got so it's like 1, 2, 3, and then we're in. So it's like a live recording session. So
Right.
it's like a live recording session in front of 25,000 people. And there's a camera over my ride cymbal. There's a camera on my foot. There's a camera over my hi-hat. And then there's a roving cameraman that I actually play to. I break the fourth wall to kind of like play to him because then they're going to show us on the screens. Right.
Right.
So there's a lot going on, it's,
Yeah.
but we have it pretty easy. A lot of like these baby acts where they've got their first single out, second single, or they're a mid-level act, and they're really leaning on that Ableton where the tambourine and the shaker are screaming in the track, and there's synth parts, and God forbid, I know some acts have bass parts, no bass player in the band.
Yeah, there's
just bass parts. And so that a lot of times the drummer is running Ableton with his SPDSX, or he's got some sort of a rig, with a MIDI keyboard with the names of the songs on and he's responsible for extending intros, or it's a lot of responsibility, but it's pretty much an expectation now in the modern music world to have the recording artist is going to have maybe their corporate rig, right? And then the drummer's got to know what they're doing. To run it all.
Yeah, the Adele drummers are running stuff off of SPDX, sample pads and running loops or tracks and stuff over that. It's pretty insane. A lot of pressure. It's like Broadway gigs are that way.
Yeah.
But that's nice.
God,
I mean, you have somebody running those computers. You ever have a night where the computers go down? And
one night we had a weird thing with, Jason had this big crossover hit that we actually played the Grammys with Kelly Clarkson back maybe about a decade ago. And, we couldn't take Kelly on tour. So she's in the computer and something funny happened. But we jabbed, we got through it. But it's pretty rare. I mean, Ableton is more prone to not crash, but no matter what DAW you're using, everyone's got two computers running in tandem where if one fails, the other one picks right up.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so you guys are heading out again. Finally, things are starting to open up. You're saying like Nashville feels like it's finally like fully open again.
Oh, Nashville is just wide open, man. It's.
I mean, it's really funny, man. New York, it's still everybody's kind of masked up still, and
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's weird. So
I'm the only one that walks into the dry cleaner with a mask.
Really?
I'm the only one that walks into Starbucks. I mean, I'm vaxxed, but there's this security where it's like, hey, if I'm going to be indoors in close proximity to someone, I'm just going to play it safe here for a little bit longer.
Me too. I'm not ready yet. I mean, I live in Staten Island, New York, and it's like you go in the bagel store for a cup of coffee and nobody has masks on anymore, except for me. I'm like one of the only guys.
Play it safe.
Yeah. So you guys are going to be heading out again, right? So August dates that you mentioned before, and then you said you guys will be back out, and then something in December. Oh, a residency in Vegas, right?
Yeah, everyone just check out jasonaldean.com. I believe all the tour dates have been announced, and it looks like, I think I can say that, looks like we're doing some sort of a 3-night run in at the MGM in Vegas in December. So
that's awesome.
It's nice to be set up at the same place for 3 nights.
Yeah.
It's the closest you get to like being like a Broadway drummer, with my friend Sammy Marandino, who just, walks into, Kinky Boots or whatever for years,
Right.
has his office. It's great.
Oh, man. Well, I have to say, man, this was super fun. I think I'm hoping that PASIC happens in person this year,
I
which
think
I
it
think it
is.
will.
I think it's, I mean, for sure
yeah.
going down.
So I think I'm going to try to encourage a lot of drummers that have never done it before to come out and go and see the whole thing. I mean, that's how I met you, and it's pretty interesting. You know, if you're looking to cultivate relationships with people in the industry, I mean, especially drummers, it's a great thing, right? I mean, NAMM is obviously for all musicians, and that's another thing that I encourage all drummers to go check out. Go to the NAMM show, network with people. But you know, even though it's all drummers, PASIC is just an amazing opportunity to meet your heroes, the people that inspire you, and hear some new things that you've never heard before. Because you're always going to hear. I remember seeing Derrick Jones for the first time. I'd never heard
Oh
anything
yeah.
like that before, man. I was like, what is happening? Just trying to
He's got a
understand.
really unique thing happening, and
Yeah.
like not a lot of people are doing it, and he's really done a great job marketing himself. Oh my God,
Oh
just
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I love Ash Sohn is always saying like, you know, wanky beats. Like he plays those wanky beats. And like yeah, exactly.
I can't even emulate it. It's its own thing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Actually, he's starting to kind of break it down. Ash is starting to incorporate that kind of thing like the quintuplet swing. It's a really weird thing. It's definitely
Yeah.
its own little animal. But I never would have heard that.
What's the quintuplet? What is that like? So
So
like
it's like you play on the fourth partial of the quintuplet. So you sort of get this one and la, two and la, three and la, four and la, one. So the swing is like offset from triplet swing and 16th note swing. It's a little further away in the bar. It's really odd. Ding, ding, got, ding, 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 got, ding, 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 got, ding, ding. It's really really weird.
you play on the fifth partial or the fourth?
You play on the fourth partial or the fourth and fifth partial sometimes. So and you can even I've been doing a thing where you play on the first and third partial. Dig dig got dig 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 got dig 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 got dig, right? So you're on the one and the two and the three and the four and the. I use
Yeah, but I don't. I think Daru is just feeling it, man.
Oh no, totally. But if you try
Yeah.
to take it mathematically, everybody's writing those in quintuplets and septuplets, and finding where that sits. But he's just feeling it, I think, and I think he's one of the. I mean, it goes back to like Jay Dilla, and like the Dilla beats and what they were programming in early hip hop and rap. But it's now guys are playing that stuff on records. It's pretty insane.
It's nuts.
If
It's
you
nuts.
check out like Erica Badu, there's some hits where it's that in between swing. I'm calling it new swing. I don't know what everybody else is calling it, but it's that quintuplet swing. It's really weird.
Man, it's awesome.
So much to
Yeah,
learn, right?
Dude, I worked so hard on taking a click and trying to hug that sucker as close as possible, and now I got to play this more of like this drunk thing. It's like it's
Yeah,
just
drunk
not
beats.
in my. I'm like, what? It's like
Yeah, exactly.
it's so hard.
Well, like what I was saying was the first time I heard him do it, I didn't know what was happening. And in this interview with Ash Sohn, he said the same thing. He's like, I didn't know what was happening with these guys. What are they playing? He's like, it just sounds wrong. But it sounds wrong, but it sounds so right. It's like this tension, right? This kind of tension. I don't know. Yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
the constant student, right? You just want to learn it all.
I got to get these sticks in my hands tonight. I know that because I got a session tomorrow, and it's been a couple of days. I've been moving and just life stuff. So I'm going to be paradiddling out tonight.
Nice. What kind of session is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 3 songs. So 2 songs with one client. I hate calling them clients, but one songwriter. And then so two different songwriters, 3 songs. So it'll be
Nice.
fun.
And
Yeah.
Johnny's going to be engineering with you?
You know, it's so funny. Johnny is working, so I'm actually going over to my friend. He'd be actually great for your podcast, for your interview. Tony Mora is a great session drummer in Nashville. He's like a secret, but he's
Oh.
been around for a long, long time, and he was one of the first guys to have a totally pro floor floated professional drum tracking studio in his home. So
Wow.
I go His drums are completely set up. I don't have to change a thing. He engineers me, and I cut him in on the stuff.
Wow. Oh, that's great, man.
You got to have friends. I do the same thing in Los Angeles. My buddy Blair Cinta, who would be great for your show as well, because
Oh, yeah.
we went to college together, and then he went off to play with Alanis Morissette and Damian Rice and Josh Groban, and so he's got a nice place in Glendale. He's all set up. I walk in, play his drums, PayPal, and it's just just pays
awesome.
it pays to have amazing, talented friends.
Oh, my God. That's so great. Well, I hope you have an amazing session tomorrow. I think I would love to do this again sometime. I know I'm going to have more questions, but hopefully I'll see you definitely in November, but I'm thinking maybe in August, Jones Beach, or I think you said Homedale, New Jersey on the night before, August 6th at the Arts Center.
One of those should work out.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been amazing, exchanging stories and learning about kind of what makes you tick, and you're definitely inspiration to me, and I know to all the listeners. So thanks for being on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, it's my absolute pleasure, and you're doing great things and impacting the world in a big way, man. Congratulations on the book, and I can't wait to work through it, and the goal would be to work through it before I see you at Passing.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
It's 165 pages, but
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, man. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to take a crack at it a little bit.
There's something for everybody in that book. But don't forget to pick up Crash, and it's on Audible as well. But I like the paper copy because I can go through with my highlighter. I'm going to go through and I'm going to start taking all those little quotations and highlighting them in the book, and catch Rich out on the road. And also I put your website in the description of the video, so go to Rich's website. You can find out all about what he's up to. Podcast, check out the podcast. He's acting, he's drumming, he's public speaking, he's doing it all. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, that would be a pitch, I guess. If somebody's out there and you want something, you have an organization and you want some team building, you want some energy, like I'll do that for you. And then I put a lot of heart and sweat about 5 years ago into a product called Drumming in the Modern World. So if anybody wants to go to drumminginthemodernworld.com.
It's a video series.
Or at Rich Redmond. Yeah, it's like 120 videos, 5.5 hours of training videos.
Wow, that's amazing. All drumming.
All drumming. It's like either performances or tips or breakdowns or deconstructing Nashville number charts or, just everything I know about drumming.
Beautiful. So that's on the website. Check that out. That I think is under the little shop link, right? Oh no, that has its own link up there. And then check out the shop link, because some of the products are listed there, like this book, the kids drumming book. So check it all out. Rich Redmond.
Oh yeah. Sorry to keep interrupting with the Zoom etiquette. If you guys go to the shop icon at richredmond.com, I have about 10 PDF booklets of every Jason Aldean song I've ever recorded that you can download for free. It's just my gift to you.
You sign up for kind of that's like a mailing list.
You just give me your email address.
Yeah.
You just give me your email address, and then you can have it's like hundreds of songs.
Yeah,
like all written out. Every hi-hat opening, every cymbal crash, everything.
And the latest album, the last album, which was 9, right? Was the last album?
Yeah.
All the charts are there for that too. So definitely check that out. What a great resource to get all those charts and kind of see how it's all laid out. Very cool.
Thanks, man.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Holy moly. You have so much happening, man.
Well, hey, let's go. We got to go have some dinner, man. It's time for dinner.
Yeah. I'm going to go grab some dinner. You grab some dinner. I know you're going to be warming up for tomorrow a little bit, right? If you have any tech questions, hit me up, Rich.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. And thanks for everybody that was watching tonight and for coming in with the questions. I'm going to roll the titles, and I'll see you guys on Monday with Lib DeVito on the next one. And remember, Thursday night, Hand Technique Workshop for free, live streaming on YouTube. Come in and play with us, and we'll see you real soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.